Well, welcome to the Handyman's Haven. Got another project for you, and this one I'm pretty excited about. It's right here on the table. We're going to take it out of the box right now, and it's going to be the installation of a new backup camera system for my pickup truck. And it's going to include two cameras, not one, two cameras, and we'll see how that can work. Now, I currently have a dash cam and a rear view camera in my truck, but as a recording system, it works really good. It's very well. It's a Thinkware, and I'll have another video on that as well. And it works very good as a for recording video. But as a backup camera, it's not a backup camera. It's simply a mirror image in the little monitor, and the little monitor is so small that you can't possibly use it to aid you in backing up. Plus, as I say, it's a mirror image, so the item that you're about to hit is shows on the wrong side of the camera. So we're going to try this new system. It has a larger screen and two cameras, and we're going to try and clear up some of the blind spots on my pickup truck with a Canopy. So let's get to it. We're going to take it out of the box. I haven't even opened it yet. Exciting. Okay, it's just arrived, and we're going to see if everything is in here that we ordered. System is. It's the new, well, not new, but new to me, Haloview 7-inch monitor, and it's a wired rear view system. So no wireless on this. Let me say that they don't sponsor me and have given me nothing for free. I purchased this myself, and I'll have all the costs at the end of the video that you can take a look at. So that's the screen system. In here we have, I believe this is the wiring cable. Now I ordered, yeah, this is our hardwire cable for the cameras, and I ordered two sets 32 feet long. Probably more than I ever need, but if I ordered the short one, I knew I was going to be short on one camera installation, so a little bit of extra cable doesn't hurt. And in here is the extra camera. Okay, I purchased a second camera. And there's a camera comes with the system as well. So I'm looking forward to a good review. If it isn't, then the whole world will hear about it, because it'll go on my website. Alright, there's our second camera. Here. Okay, two cameras. Here's our little monitor. Well, that's a nice size. You can actually see that. And as compared to the one on the Thinkware, you'll see. And there's our flexible mount where the camera has a slide in the back, and this just slips in and mount her like so. Looks good. Okay, we're going to stop it there, clean up some of this stuff, and I have a battery right here on my table that I'm going to test everything out first before I go and try and put it into the truck. So that'll be the next step. Okay, we're set up on the table here, and I want to test the entire system and set it up as to how it's going to go into my truck. We have our 12 volt power source here, and I'll just show you some of the wiring. The cameras are wired individually. They have their own cable roll. This particular one is white. This one is blue for camera 1, camera 2. And the power wires, the red wire has a little 3 amp fuse in it, and the white wire powers the white camera, the blue wire powers the blue camera. So it's pretty straightforward in the wiring setup. So we'll put all those together and clamp them to the battery, and then I'll find my black wire is the negative terminal, and that'll ground it, give us our power. There. So we have camera 2 going right now. That's this camera right here. You can adjust it a little bit. Okay. Camera 1 is not working, so let's find out why. We'll remove one wire here. We'll take away the blue wire, which was that camera. Go to the white wire. And there we are. There's camera 1, indicated up in the corner, camera 1, camera 2. So it would appear that camera 2 is the default camera. In other words, when the system comes on in your vehicle, running, in my vehicle, running 2 cameras, it'll only default to one of them. You have to find out which one it is, and as soon as I touch camera 2's wire here, comes up camera 2 on the screen. So camera 2 is the default. So I want to run one of the cameras all of the time because I want to see behind me. I want the backup camera on all of the time. So that means that that's the setup right there. That white wire, red wire goes to a power source in the truck that when I turn the ignition on, it's always going to be on. This one here has to be on a switch. And now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to wire this particular wire into my light switch. So I can just put my driving lights on or my parking lights on, and it'll activate this camera, because this one is going to look out the side of the truck to my left, to my right side, a blind spot I have, and then this camera, number 1, is going to be my backup camera. So simply by just think, I'm turning my lights on in my truck, I've got it wired into the system. Let's turn the lights on. Right away it defaults and it goes to camera 2. I want to see my backup camera real quick. Just turn the lights off. There we are, back to 2. So that's figured out on the bench here, the system that I'm going to use to wire it. Now the next thing I have to figure out is that these cameras, the mounts are on the bottom, and this is going to be mounted to the underside of my canopy in the truck. In other words, the roof of my canopy. I have to put a couple of wooden blocks in the canopy glued to the ceiling to mount these on so they can screw them in. So they come down below the lip of the window so they can look out the side. This one's going to look out the side. This one's going to look out the back. So we have to turn the camera upside down. Now remember, that's our side camera. So now my picture's upside down. The same with this one. This one's going to be mounted just inside the canopy door. So it'll also be upside down, like that, and like that. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to go into the menu here. We'll go to the menu, and you hit the OK button 1, 2, 3 times. Oh, I'm sorry. Hit the menu button, not the OK button. The menu button, this gives you one menu, second menu, third menu, and this is our horizontal and vertical. So we're going to come down here to, let's get right menu, to the horizontal. Okay. Sorry, first time at this, got to figure it out. Okay, it was the mirror image, or the vertical image I want. Here we go. So now I'm camera number 1. It's in the flipped position, so it's oriented in the right direction. It's seeing my right hand, so it's not a mirror image, so that's good. So on this one, theoretically they should both be the same. So yes, they are. So that makes it easy. So I can mount both my cameras now upside down, and the monitor is now set up exactly for that orientation. Now this is going to go over a few days. I've been 2 or 3 days working, doing bits and pieces of this and fooling around with it, and it's you know, this comes after what life is. Life is every day, and I don't always have time to do to work with this, and this is just going to be a fun project to do, and I'm not rushing it. So next time we'll be out in the driveway with the truck, and we're wiring the cameras in place. Okay, here's the truck that we're going to install it in. It's a Dodge Ram 2003 3500 series. Okay, now what I have planned here, you can see the existing setup. I have a Thinkware camera. You can barely see it through the glass there, but it's attached right to the rear glass. And now what I'm thinking with my new camera, I want it down in about here, and then the second camera is going to go somewhere along this top rail. I'm going to look out the side of the truck. I can't see people coming down this direction towards the side of my truck, so that way I can quickly see if the way is clear and flip to my rear view camera and back out. I'm going to hook up the whole system again like I did down on my bench downstairs on my table, and just see what views I get from both cameras before I install them. So I got some work ahead of us today. Okay, we're inside the canopy of the truck. We've got our interior light here, and you know, initially I thought I was going to have to bring down a block of wood coming down here to mount, so I can put my camera mounted about there to be able to see. But then once I got inside here and took a look, it's hard to see them, but there is a screw right here holding the canopy molding on. I can simply take my mount here and bolt it right to that window molding, and then my camera will sit down about here, and I can tilt it down to look through the window. Okay, what I've done here, as you can see, I've got my camera mount mounted to my aluminum frame, and the camera's in here. Right, I'm going to run this wire. I'll clip them to these other screws, make it nice and neat on a canopy. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this mount down a little bit and see if we can't get more of a visual towards the road and down here without catching as much of this stipple. Well, as you can see, I've been able to mount this camera bracket to the aluminum window frame here. We have the camera mounted. See right here. Got a bit of backlighting here, so it's going to be tough to show you this, but I think it's coming out all right. Here's our monitor view. Okay, now we're looking straight sideways to my neighbor's yard. The next step is to run the wiring. That'll be tomorrow's job. to run all the wiring into the cab and button everything up and make it look nice and neat and tidy. Got the cameras installed in the back of the truck. Now I have to find a place to put the monitor. Initially, I thought I'd like to have it on the dashboard, but unfortunately, the camera is too big for the dashboard. And even if I had it on the dashboard, down low, say here, difficult to do this with one hand and still photograph, but we'll give her a try. Even if it was down low on the dashboard, which it just will not fit, here's my vision. It's going to block a good portion of the road, so not safe. Even if I locate it over here in the middle, again, it's blocking my vision out over the hood. So there's absolutely no place on the dashboard to mount it. So even hanging it off the dash, which the mount isn't conducive to, would block all my gauges, my radio, my switches. But one time, this is my 6th backup system or multi-camera system that I put in a vehicle. And at one time, I had my monitor on the back of my sun visor. And that truck I sat a little bit lower and back a bit, so I had a little bit more room than what we've got here. It was a 9-inch monitor, actually bigger than this one. And it worked very well. I have my monitors for my cameras mounted on my sun visor behind me here. And I'll show you how these work just shortly. The large monitor on the side here, that operates the backup camera on my truck and also the one on my trailer. The small monitor on the left is for my camera on the front of the truck and on the back of my camera. This is not going to work here because of just the configuration of the seating, and this is very close to your face. So what I have found though is this will work up here. See where I've got my little Thinkware monitor up top here. I'm going to put it right beside it, like so I don't block the Thinkware monitor. I can still get at the dials on that. And yet it's still going to be well out of my vision. It's basically going to be like a sun visor that's down all the time. And I don't necessarily have to see that part of the sky or the road. I still have my left vision is still open for looking at street lights. I have my right well clear for looking at street lights and stop signs. So I think this is the location it's going to be. Actually, it's the only location it can be, so we're going to work towards that. So the next step is to remove the body moldings on the side here so I can run my wires in. It really does not have a molding, it's just a rubber gasket at the top here. So, and I have a wire running in there already, my Thinkware from the back. Okay, we're into the stage where we're trying to remove the interior panel so we can run some wiring here. This A-pillar cover has to come off because we're going to come up from the fuse box with power up and mount our monitor up in here. So I've gone ahead and I've just gently removed these little clips here. Take a screwdriver and just gently pull them out without scratching them. And then there's a what is it, 10mm bolt if you're in Canada, probably 3/8 in the United States. And I'm going to go ahead and remove these bolts. I've already got this one out. There we go. Okay, so the A-pillar is free. Now, to get this guy off of here, reach up. I've got some plastic. These are actually a plastic thing for doing grapefruits and oranges, and I find it works really good for removing trim. So we'll get up in here, get our fingers in there, and pull that down, and then there we go, just released. And I can see my mumbo jumbo of wiring that I stuffed in here from my other camera. I have up here the Thinkware. I think all the clips are released. It's just a matter of getting this thing, there we go, to slide out of the way. And there we go. Number one. So now that that's off, I didn't take that off when I installed my Thinkware camera. That's why we have this mumbo jumbo wiring. Now I can properly install the wiring in here and zip tie it to this existing wiring in here. Okay, let me show you what I've come up with here. I'm planning on making all of my junctions in the A-pillar here, and rather than tearing all of the trim off, you know, this top trim and bottom trim down here, once I got the A-pillar off, I noticed I've got a decent little cavity right up here. So I've put a fish tape through, little electrical snake, and around to the back here. I'm running two cables now. I've got two cameras. I got my cables side by side in this little container, and I've come up here and I've taped them together to my fish tape. And so we're going to attempt right now to try and push this through. Appear to have hit a tight spot here, and this won't come through. I think I might have to take off this B-pillar panel in order to fish it through without breaking something. So I'll show you what I've had to do here. Who's that? There's my foreman and assistant. Hi Lil, you're looking tired. You just relax in the sun there. Yeah. She keeps an eye on things for me. She just has to be with her dad. So what I've had to do here, I've had to take the handle off the B-pillar here, 2 screws, and prop this open with a piece of wood and get right up inside here. Now there's the cables right there that we're running. They're coming from my box of cable here, up the side, up through here. So there we go. We'll get some loose cable there. Okay, now this was a real tough one to get through, right through this point in here. Hard to see, but it's really jammed up around the B-pillar, but I managed to get it so far, and I'm still struggling here a little bit. It's just really tight. There we are. That's the hard part right there, the thickest part of the cable. So hopefully now Okay, we're just buttoning up the B pillar here, get the handle back on. There we go. What do you think, Foreman? I do a good job. Okay, now next step, install the monitor on the in the front. Run the wires down to get power from the fuse box, and then attach the cameras in the A pillar. Hopefully there's enough room in there, and then the next step after that would be run the bulk wire into the canopy and attach and hook up the two cameras. Okay, this morning we're going to pull the cable through into the back and hook up the cameras. Got all our These are camera hookups for the front end. Oh, there's our little foreman this morning, Miss Lily. It's a little cool out here this morning, so got the jacket on her. Yeah, it'll warm up though. Okay, now I've got all the cables laid out here. Man, I ordered 2 lengths of 30 feet, one for each camera, thinking I was going to have to run around all the door sill here and right around and chew up cable like it's going out of style. But now that I ran it through the headliner here, I'll have lots of cable left over, but that's okay. I'll just coil it up and put it in the canopy. Now the way I'm going to run this, I'm going to put a Lumex shield around this cable, all 3 cables. I got one from my Thinkware. That's the recording cameras, both dash and backup camera. And then these 2 go to the 2 cameras in the back, and I run it through my back window and my canopy window without having to drill any holes in the body. And I'll just seal up those windows with some black duct tape so you won't see it. I don't know which camera's which. I'm stupid. I ran the wires and I didn't put a piece of tape on one to tell me this camera number 1 or camera number 2, so we'll just hook up one camera and we'll give it a try. We've got camera number 1 figured out, and that's all I need to know. I've got some white tape here. I'm going to put a white bar on this end so that when I run the wires underneath the dashboard here, I can identify it again. Okay, what I've done now is I've taken these wires from the back and I run them down through the A pillar here, and right down in through the gap there. Now this will all be covered by the plastic cover. Here's our hookup to our camera, to our monitor. The monitor's going to go up on the windshield and bring that cable down and hook in here, and that'll all be inside the A pillar enclosure. And so what I've done is I've run these wires down through the dashboard. I've got them all on the floor here. Now I've hooked up the camera 1. I've got camera 2 to hook up yet. Camera 2 goes right here. Now the most invaluable tool that I've used on this whole project is this little cable snake. I've pulled the wires through the headliner with it. You just tape your wires to the end and this snake rolls out. I've got 20 feet of cable in here, and also I used it right up in here. I fished it down through the dashboard down to the bottom. I hooked the end of these cables on and I pulled them back up through the dash, and I'm telling you, it's been an invaluable tool. So if you don't have that, even a good piece of wire would work just as well. And it saved me taking apart the dashboard. It saved me taking all these moldings off the sides and stuff. So there's a tip for you. Get a little snake. You can use it around the house, or if you haven't got that and you just need something temporary, use a piece of wire. Okay, I've got my temporary setup here for testing. Every car and bus in the world's going by here for enhancing the sound. Anyway, what I'm elected to do is to use a splitter for my cigarette lighter and two cigarette plug-ins. One's to run camera 1, one's to run camera 2. That's the only way I could really wire it and get them to work independently. For some reason, when you power them both up, the selector on the monitor will not select camera number 1 or number 2. I don't know what the heck it's even there for if you can't power up both cameras and select from one to the other. So this is going to go in behind my steering wheel here. I'll show you when it's all put in. That's the cigarette lighter plug that's operated by the ignition. I want these to go off when the ignition is off. Okay, we've got our monitor mounted up here above the windshield. So there's my vision. There's my monitor. So it's just a little bit of a kind of a upwards look, and I can see what's happening. Turn the system on here. I just had to press the button there. It automatically comes on. I don't know whether you can see that on the screen or not. It's pretty poor, and I still got the screen cover, screen protector on it. So
connected. Continuous recording will now start.
That's my Thinkware camera over here. Now it's can't see it. It's so backlit here. But anyway, you can see how tiny this little monitor is. You can't use it for backup at all, and then you can go from one setting to the other. But up in the corner shows the other view, either the front or rear view, cutting off most of the view. This is going to make an awful difference. So what I've done here, it's kind of a weird setup. I had to fudge some of the wiring because I couldn't get the select camera switch to work. That's this one here. It just selects the camera that's on. It will not show the other camera, even when it's both powered up. So what I've done here is I have my switch right here for, I can turn the camera off. It's off right now. I can leave the camera on all the time. Okay, when I'm driving, it's on. So down below here I have another lighter plug. So when I push that in, it automatically activates the second camera. Now I'll try and give you a better view of this because this is daytime and it's pretty tough. So all I have to do is to push that in. I have my side view camera. To pull it out, I got my rear view camera. So it's not that big a deal. So we have our A pillar here. All the wires are neatly tucked in. I just have to fix up this one wire here and tuck it in as well. Then I can put my A pillar cover back on. Well, this is a really mishmash of wiring you've got to deal with. So what I've done here is I've put twist ties around the bundle. You've got all the wiring, and I put it in a Ziploc bag. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to wrap it with my shrink wrap, and then this whole bundle will just tuck up underneath the dashboard. If I need access to it, I'll just pull it out. Pretty hard to try and shrink wrap with one hand, so there we go. There's my little bundle, and I'm just going to under here and slide that up into place over a couple of cables and another wiring harness. There, that should sit in there quite nicely. What I'll do, I was just going to put a zip tie around that and just make sure that that doesn't fall down in my feet, and it's well up out of the way. There's the view, and I'm right down on the carpet. So we'll just tidy that up a little bit. And we're going to reinstall the A pillar. Okay, now we're into the back. I'm going to have to tidy up the mile of wire that we got back there. Okay, into the back. So the cables are going to come, I'll put some Lumex on that to protect it. Cables are going to come through there, come down the side of the window, and then I'm just going to put them in a Ziploc bag like I did on the front and tuck them down behind the box here, behind the toolbox, and we'll never see it. Okay, this is what we have to deal with in the cab now. I've got the 3 wires, 2 from my Haloview camera and 1 from my for the Thinkware, and we're going to put those through and neaten them up here a little bit. And how we're going to do that is I've got some wire loom. This is just a plastic loom called loom. It's split, so you can slip it around the wire. Keeps all the wires together, nice and neat. And I'm going to use a black duct tape. It's actually a tarp tape by 3M. You can buy it at most camping supply places and stuff for repairs. And I'm going to seal up the windows with that to keep the weather out. And of course a pair of scissors to cut the loom and the tape. I'll come back with a razor knife and clean that up a little bit. So this goes in there. That's as closed as the window gets. Give it that. And go into the box. Okay, we've got our wire coming through from the cab. I just have to seal up the back side here before we go on any further. There. That worked good. So I'll come back in a few minutes and get this taped and then get rid of all the cable that's hanging in the middle here. Okay, we've got our window, inside window closed, and it's all sealed up with tape. We've got our camera wire. This is coming from the Thinkware. That's the actual camera that takes video in the back window, and I'll kind of go over all of this at the end. And there's not enough cable to run around the outside, so I had to run it down the center of the canopy in its little clips, and I've kind of tidied it up a little bit here. We got our cable coming up and over, joining these guys coming in this direction, and now we have this wad of cable we have to dispose of. I have a gap. It actually forms an L going back in, so there's a good size gap. It must drop down 5 to 6 inches, and find all kinds of junk in there. So I thought I would dispose of the cable down in there. Now, I could just throw it in there, you know, like why not, eh? But, yeah, know me. I gotta have it nice and neat, so I've got a good bundle of cable there. We're going to bind it up with our coffee filter ties. Like I say, these are big, they're tough, they're strong, and they work like a darn. There. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in a Ziploc bag. I've got my little shrink wrapper here. This is the handiest tool. If you don't have one, you should get one, because it comes in so handy around the garage, from the standpoint that when you've got garden tools and brooms and stuff you want to put up in your attic, you can shrink wrap them all together, make a nice neat package. I can just keep squeezing this, making this a little tighter. I think that'll do. Like so. Now I've got a nice, tight, neat little package that will fit down in that slotted area. Because I use the truck for hauling garbage, sticks and twigs, and I just want to keep this out of the way so it doesn't get caught. Keep it safe. Zip tie to cable them all together here, and that'll be a wrap for the installation. Next thing is just to, once I get everything cleaned out, I'll do a final walk around. I've had an opportunity to use the cameras, the Haloview cameras, for a few days, and I've made some adjustments, and I'll show you starting in the back here. Now, you'll recall initially I had the camera mounted right here, but it stuck down, and every time I went in and out, I kept banging my back on it, and I thought, I don't like that at all. So I moved it up to the glass. It's on the actual glass now. Hard to see this. But my little Thinkware camera's right here, my recording camera, and now my backup camera's on the glass. And it's given me a better view. I don't have to look through these beads now. It's nice and clear view. And now when I open the canopy door, or I'm going to take materials in and out of the truck, it's well out of the way. She's right there. You can hardly see it's there. The other thing I did on the side view camera here, I had it mounted a little farther back towards me, and it was shooting just straight out. Now what I've done is I've moved it ahead a little bit, and I've rotated it so that it looks to the side and back at the same time. And now that covers a great big blind spot that it didn't cover before, because it was looking straight out. I don't know what I was thinking, but I guess you have to try these things to see how it works for your best benefit. Now, one other thing I did in the cab, I had quite the time wiring these cameras, so I'll show you here what I've done in the cab. I initially had my block right here with the two. I had the Thinkware camera plugged in here, along with the number one camera with a switch on it. I bought a second switch, and now what happens is that this was in the way every time I brought the gear lever is right here. When I brought the gear lever down, my hand had a tendency, I'll let that guy go by, enhancing the sound there with the motorcycle. my hand had a tendency to bang this block here. So now I have it set up so that I have 2 switches, okay? And this is a permanent, this is on all the time. So all I have to do is turn the switch off when I get home or when I want to use the backup camera. So the number 1 camera is on right now, and all I have to do is hit this one for the number 2 camera to come on, or turn it off and the number 1 camera is on. And I'll show you that right now. So we're here. Camera number 1. Press camera number 2 switch. Here's my side view. And then back to camera number 1. It's almost instantaneous. So I'm happy with that. I just have to remember to turn that camera off. It's the last thing I look at when I leave. The monitor's off. So we're good to go. So I think that's all the changes I'm going to make. I'm really happy with the installation. I'm not happy with the way I had to wire it. It's a crazy wiring setup. They have it designed so that you can hook your cameras into either a right signal or a left signal. And I didn't want to have to turn my signal light on to turn my cameras on. So I opted for the cigarette lighter plug-in, each of them on their own individual switch, and that seems to be working. Okay, the final thing I have to do is to set up the monitor with the parking grid lines for safety. And so what I've done here, I've put up a simulated post using my tripod, and the distance between the center line of my tripod and the bumper is 8 inches. So if I set up my parking grid lines to detect the top of my simulated post, then whenever that grid line reaches that point, I'll know I'm 8 inches from a post or a wall or any other object. So to adjust the scale, if you hit the OK button, it's called a scale. That brings up your parking grid. And in order to move the parking grid to where you want it to, you go back to Menu, Picture, and come down to Scale Adjust using the OK button. And it shows the arrows going vertically, so we're going to move the scale up and down. So we can go to our scale, and using the right arrow or left arrow, we can bring the scale down. So I don't know how clear you can see this, but there's the center of my tripod, and I want my line to be right on that, so I'll bring it up. So when I'm backing up and anything touches that line, I'll know that I am 8 inches away from it. Okay, I'm out in the truck. I've kind of waited till dusk here so that I don't have so much backlighting. But here's my viewing angle. I'm looking at the Quonset hut we have here. But here's my camera right above. Sorry, my monitor right above. And I want to show you what area that I have viewable. So you can see on the left there's a little gold bush in blossom right around to my neighbor's motorhome. And now we're going to go, I'll turn on the side camera. And there's the back of my neighbor's motorhome on the right, swinging all the way around, looking in our backyard. And now I'll go outside and show you the actual viewing area that I have now with no blackout spots or dead areas that I can't see. It's a nice evening, a little cool, bit of weather coming over on the other side of the lake there on the mountains, but okay, I'm going to stand right here in the middle at the back of my truck, and I'm going to show you the viewing area. So I'm right by the trailer hitch. You can see that little yellow bush. So starting there, I have from that little yellow bush in our cul-de-sac, all the way around, taking in that motorhome, all the way around our fence, and right over to that. There's a little red clamp there right in the middle of the screen on the fence. From there, so I have virtually no blind spots with the two cameras. Right around to there. Okay, my final conclusion. If the Thinkware camera had a proper backup monitor that you could actually see, I would have loved to have just stayed with that, but I couldn't. So if I was to do it all over again, I was to start from scratch. I mean, I've got a lot of money invested here now, so I can't scrap them. But if I was to do it again from scratch, I would have gone with the Haloview with the bigger monitor and all the features, being able to reverse the mirror image, and two cameras like I have, and with a recording capability. That's all. So that would be it. If I were you, I would buy something like the Haloview that records, and if you want multi-cameras, have it so that it functions with multi-cameras, and also gives you the opportunity, like I say, to be able to record what you're looking at. And that's my thoughts. Okay, thanks for watching. Been a little long-winded in this. Subscribe. I've got many other videos. I'll put a link in the description for the other video, if it's the Haloview or the Thinkware VersaVices, and you can go and look at the different installations and some of the features of them. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.